Yo, 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 YouTube, and we are back with another video. It's been a while. I took a little bit of a break, but it was much needed, and I am back to give you some content, and hopefully some content that is a little bit more unique. I went onto Twitter to ask you guys for one player from the European leagues that you would like a preview on for this game week at the weekend. It may be someone you had an injury concern over, maybe someone that's been linked with a transfer away from the club. I didn't give you too much information of what I was going to go over in the video, but basically I'm going to give you a little preview of your player. By the end of it, I'm going to give you a Mystic Meg style score prediction. And it's going to be interesting to see how we get on after the video's done. And then once the game weekend is done, how close we actually get with our predictions for you all. A short little disclaimer though, please, please, please. If you do make a selection based on my judgment, please don't come at me with negative feedback. It is just my opinion. At the end of the day, you do need to do your own research on it. And if you like this concept, please drop me a subscribe below and a thumbs up and even a comment. It would massively help me. We're making progress with the views on the channel and the subscribers. I'd really appreciate any help I can get from you guys. But without further ado, let's get on to the first player that we have. So first up, we have Hyper. It's only fair as he was the first person to comment on our Twitter post yesterday. So I want to put him first on today's video for the preview for his player. And he commented with Tolo Arukadar. Now, if we have a look at Tolo Arukadar, he is a striker that plays for Genk from Nigeria, 22 years of age, under 23 utility until 2025. He's a very, very good player. He had a little bit of a niggle for last game. And he was a little bit of an injury doubt, but he did make the bench against Cercle Bruges. And he played 6 minutes and come off of the bench. This week, we hear news also that Paul Anachu is potentially returning to Belgium, and that will be with Genk. And there is rumours that that might well be a swap deal. And if that is true that it's a swap deal for Joseph Pansil, who is arguably Genk's most important player, there is a chance that Joseph Pansil might not play this weekend, which means that if Tolo is fit, I think he will probably start. And if he starts, I think he has a very, very good chance of getting a decisive. He is known as a decisive player. Doesn't get a massive amount of AA, hence why he doesn't get scores in the region of 80 plus, 80 to 90, 90 to 100. He doesn't really get those scores. I don't actually know if he's had any. Yeah, so in his whole Sorare career so far, he hasn't had a score over 78. But he has had 15 between 60 and 70 and 5 between 70 and 80. So that does show that he is quite capable of getting those decisive scores that give him a decent enough average score. This week's fixture is against Sporting Charleroi at home, and Genk are arguably one of the best teams in the league, and Charleroi have not started very well. They've had 3 games, they've drawn 2, lost 1. So I believe that this is a pretty decent fixture for Tolo if he starts. I'm going to predict that he probably starts. It's only 21% on Sorare data. I'm going to be part of that 21%, and I think he starts. And I believe that he will actually probably do quite well. As for score prediction, I think he is going to score 63. So I think it's going to be a low scoring game, but I think he can grab himself a decisive. And like we say, he doesn't get a lot of AAs, so that is why I've gone for 63. I think he'll either score or he'll get an assist this weekend. So the next guy we're going to take a look at is from Sorare Lex. And thank you, Sorare Lex, for this one, because I'm probably going to absolutely butcher the name. But we're going to go with Sinan Karwiner. And apologies if I am butchering the name. Hopefully we're somewhere close with that name. But yeah, we're going to have a look at Sinan Karwiner. And he is a German striker that plays for Austria Klagenfurt in the Austrian Bundesliga. He's only 24 years old. We don't have a lot to go on in terms of Sorare history, but when he has played, and if we look at his actual scoring in terms of games that he's actually started, so he's started 19 games and he's got 8 decisives within those 19 games, which is actually a pretty decent return. And again, this guy is not someone who is going to get you massive scores. If we look at his all-time history, he has got one score between 70 and 80, and then we're looking at one score of 80 to 90, but he hasn't got a score of 90 plus yet. This week, Austria Klagenfurt play Altach, which is actually a pretty decent fixture for them. And there is talk of Sinan potentially being fully fit to go in this game. So with that being said, the only other real threat to his position in the team, I would say, is Sebastian Soto. Sebastian Soto is looking like he won't play this weekend as he has a back injury. So I think that means that Sinan starts. What does that mean for Sinan in terms of what he can produce in this game? Well, like I say, I think it's a good fixture. If we look at his scoring in history, he gets a little bit more AA than the first guy that we looked at, but he's not a massive AA scorer. So we're going to go with a score of 74. I believe that this week against Altach is the week where Sinan can actually have a really good scoring week. Whether or not 74 is enough for what you need him to do is obviously another story, but that's what we're going to go with. I believe he gets himself a decisive. He may even get 2, but we're going to go with 1 decisive and hope that he gets the AA as well to go with it. So that's what we're going to go for Sinan. Next up, we have a player from, I hope I'm not going to ruin his name here as well, Adiat Sorare. And apologies, dude, if I do get your name completely wrong. Please feel free to comment and let me know how we pronounce it as well. You know, I can learn from that as well. But I appreciate the tweet, and he wants to have a look at Shrivers from Leuven in the Belgium League. And I'm not doing this on purpose, but we seem to have another guy that's got forward cards. Although his main positions look like they tend to be in midfield, he actually has forward cards, which is interesting for his Sorare scoring as well. Unfortunately, plays for one of the worst teams in the league, and they also lost to newly promoted RWDM. And he actually scored pretty well in this game, but it doesn't bode well against the better teams, as we see when he played against Union Saint-Gilles as a right defensive midfielder. He only scored 31.5, a negative AA. This week, they do have a home fixture, but it is against the champions, Antwerp. And Antwerp look like they are still the same team they were last year, with an absolute astounding game last week. Absolutely smashed it. So I don't think Sieb Shrivers is someone that we're concerned whether or not he starts, because he is pretty much banker material for Leuven. And especially now that Mandela Keita has left, he will continue to be that banker material as well. As far as I've done my research, it doesn't look like he's got an injury going into this week, so I believe he will start. So now we've got to work out what he's going to score. Now, he is a player that actually is very good in terms of average scoring, and he has got a few higher scores. And if we look all time as well, he has done that in the past. But again, if we look at when these scores have come about, I think we'll notice, other than, Centrudin, Singalis, Sporting Charleroi, RFC Sarang, who are now relegated, Zulte, relegated, and Oostende, who we know are not as good as some of the teams that he's going to be facing. So based on that, and if we go back to the past year, I am going to predict that he starts. But this could be the one where we find that we're maybe not going to see the scores that we're getting from our previous 2 players that we've looked at. So in terms of what I'm predicting for Sibe this week, he is someone that does score AA. This was an away fixture, so I am going to predict a score of 49 for Sibe. I do believe he'll get the AA, but I don't think there'll be a decisive action, so I'm going to be a little bit cautious with the scoring on Sibe. I think he will score better than he did against Union Saint-Gilles. Next up, we have Man Like Spud, and he is someone that drops into my Twitch chat regularly, so if you do want to come and see some Sorare content when I'm not doing YouTube, then please come and see me over on twitch.tv/sellersuk, where I stream Sorare most of the week and also a few other little bits and bobs as well. But Man Like Spud has asked about Farman. Now, Farman is actually a really good keeper, and he is probably Schalke's starting keeper, but he has been out with an injury. Now, he is back in training, and he has been for probably 2 weeks now, or just under 2 weeks. But the guy that has been taking his place whilst he's been injured, Marius Müller, who come from Leuven, has actually done really well in the past 2 games. And I think it's going to be tough for Farman to come straight back in the team now. He may be fit, but I think he might have to wait for a mistake from Marius Müller to get back in the team. But with that being said, Ralph Farman is a really, really good keeper. We don't have a lot of Sorare data for him. He has struggled with injuries and also nailing down a starting position. But he is Schalke's starting keeper, as mentioned. So when he is fit, he would be likely to come back into the starting team. But with my prediction that I'm going to go for this week, DMP. Yeah, I think this week he is going to DMP. I think, like we say, he's going to have to wait for a mistake from Marius Müller. Until then, I don't think he's going to break his way back in the team. Like I say, Schalke have had a pretty decent start in terms of, obviously a tough game against Hamburg, but they actually played pretty well in that game. And then they got 3-0 against Kaiserslautern, which is actually a really good result. So I believe that Marius Müller will keep his spot for this game week, and Farman will DMP. He's not even been in the squad for the past 2 games. So with that being said, I think before he actually gets a starting position, he might make his way back onto the bench first. So yeah, we're going to go this week with a DMP for Ralph Farman. Next up, we have a player from Adit Mats 7, and that is Lise Malou. And Lise Malou, if you guys know, is an absolute beast when it comes to Sorare. And I don't think this week is going to be an issue with him starting either. From my research that I've done, it seems that he will be available to play this week. It doesn't seem to be any injury concern or suspension concern from what I've read. But like I say, guys, do your own research too. But that's what I've read into. But if we look through his scores in past year, 5 scores between 60 and 70, 5 between 70 and 80, 4 between 80 and 90, and 1 between 90 and 100. That's outrageous returns, and he doesn't often let you down. There was a 1 here, likely that, yeah, he got sent off. That is a reason for that. And if we go back to his all-time as well, you'll see there's, again, still a lot of greens in here as well. What we've also got from Lise Malou this week is that Le Havre have been a newly promoted team to the French League. And they have started the season with 3 defeats. So they're not doing very, very well. They're definitely a weaker team for this league. So this is a great fixture for Lise Malou. It really is. L15 is 65. I think he has got every chance of outperforming that this week. And if we look at previous game weeks, he is coming off the back of 2 more of his average performances by his standards. But 2 tough opponents as well in Lens and Rennes. So I believe that we're going to see a much improved performance from Lise Malou this week. In terms of what I think he could get, I am going to go with a score prediction of 88. I believe there's every chance of Lise Malou getting 1 decisive, maybe 2, and some really, really good AA, which he's known to do. So we're going to go with Lise Malou getting 88 this week. And guys, we're going to end this week's video with someone from Aubrey Cruz. And it is a player that I own in my gallery. So this is why I wanted to end with this one for the video as well. So we could see whether or not there was any bias in my thinking. But Melly Mullenstein is who Aubrey Cruz is talking about. It says playing for PSV, so not playing against PSV, sorry, this week. So he's not expecting too much in his eyes. So let's have a look at Melly. Melly, 24 years old. He's got under 23 utility this year, even though he's 24. So that was my plan in terms of how I wanted to use him. But I'll show you how I've got him in my potential lineups for this week afterwards. But we're not going to be using him that way this week. But Melly is a beast. That's all we need to say about Melly. Like, he has this ability to do this. He can turn up and get you an assist, get you a goal. That is what he's capable of doing. You may look through this first part of the season, but if you actually look back over his all-time as well, he is capable of regularly getting these green scores. Now, the question is, what has he done against PSV in the past? So, at a home fixture against PSV, he has 61. An away fixture there against PSV, he only scored 38. Have we got any others against PSV? PSV, when he used to play for RKC, he scored 41 there. And then a 34 there. So notoriously, he doesn't really have a great history against PSV. And he's not actually started this season very well either against Volendam, where he only scored 41 in a 2-1 win. Like we say, it's a tough fixture this week. I've done my research. It looks like he will be available to play. There doesn't seem to be any injury concern about him. So it looks like from that standpoint, he's fine to play. He's never going to be one of those players that PSV drop. Again, if you look through his history and all of his Sorare history, there's only 4 DMPs. So I fully expect him to be in that starting lineup. If we also look at how often he's come off of the bench, it's not very often either. It's generally in a starting role for wherever he's been. Yeah, 1 bench appearance in the whole of his Sorare history. So it's pretty crazy when you think about it like that. I don't think we're going to see these big high-end scores from him this week. I don't think we'll see that. Now, the question is, can he perform and do enough? Now, am I going to be biased with this score? Let's wait and find out. I'm going to score Melly for this week 51. Yeah, I believe it's going to be a tough week as well for Melly. I'd love to see more. I honestly think he'll get a 51, but who knows? If he outperforms that, then amazing, and we're all happy. And just to show you how we're using Melly this week in our lineups, this is what we're going to be going with. So we're going to actually put Melly in Challenger Europe Rare this week. I would usually put him in under 23, but I've actually decided to go for, because of the fixtures, I've decided to go in under 23 with Erbig, Dedic, Barreal, Federa and Kakare captain. So we're actually going to use Melly in Challenger Europe Rare this week. Like I say, it's not a great fixture, and a lot of the guys in here do have some doubts around them, hence why I put Melly in there. So, yeah, you can see that we're not being massively biased towards Melly. I appreciate you guys for all watching the video. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, something a little bit different. Those guys who have commented on my Twitter that I've not managed to be able to put into the video, I am going to drop it in the pinned comment down below. So I will also give you my thoughts on those, but obviously not covered in the video. I don't want to have it too long, but I appreciate you all. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, and we can do this every week, and we'll try and get a few different people involved with it as well. Please, if you could subscribe to the channel, drop a like below, drop a comment below. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll see you all on the next one.